Welcome to Wisdom Woman podcast. I believe that is in constant change and growth, not in perfection, that we find happiness. In this podcast, I'm going to be talking with top performance professionals about tools, techniques, new ideas on how to develop your communication skills, use your creative thinking, be a team player, manage your tasks like a pro, be motivated, become an expert on relationships, and a problem solver. Everything you need to be 5 stars in all areas of your life. My intention is to help you develop your skills and find balance between your professional and personal life. My name is Betina Pflug, and I hope I can be your trusted advisor. Welcome back to the Wisdom Woman podcast, where we delve into insightful conversation with exceptional professionals who are paving the way in various fields and can help you thrive as a woman. In today's episodes, we have a privilege of hosting a true powerhouse, Sue Ellson. Sue Ellson, with a multiple of credentials to her name, is an independent LinkedIn specialist, author, educator, practitioner, and consultant. With a background that encompasses both the corporate world and the dynamic landscape of technology, Sue has become a leading authority in leveraging LinkedIn for professional success. Her journey has been nothing short of inspiring. Not only is Sue a prolific writer with 5 nonfiction books under her belt, covering topics ranging from LinkedIn and career to hyperlocal marketing, and even the gig economy. She's also an advocate for continuous learning. Since her university days, Sue has been attending events and gathering relentlessly, keeping herself at the forefront of the industry trends. But that's not all. Sue is driving force behind the Newcomers Network, a new platform dedicated to connecting newcomers and helping them navigate the uncharted waters of a new environment. Her commitment to fostering community is truly commendable. Outside of her professional endeavor, Susie embraces life with zest. Whether it's spending quality time with her loved ones, taking serene walks, or hitting the dance floor with exuberance, she finds joy in every facet of life. In today's episodes, we are diving deep into the realm of LinkedIn, unraveling the secrets to navigating success in the professional sphere through this powerful platform. Sue Ellson will be sharing her wealth of knowledge, insights, and strategies that have propelled her and many others toward remarkable accomplishments. Stay tuned as we uncover the art of building meaningful connection, crafting purpose-driven engagement, and using LinkedIn as a dynamic tool to elevate your professional journey. I'm thrilled to introduce you, Sue Ellson, to the Wisdom Woman podcast. Let's dive in. Welcome, Sue.
Thank you, Betina. Lovely to be here.
Big introduction because you're big here in Australia, so we have to cover everything.
Oh, well, you can Google me if you want more details. It's probably easier.
Can you share a little bit about your background and experience with LinkedIn that led you to become an expert in this field?
Yeah, absolutely. So it started when I launched newcomersnetwork.com in 2001. And the idea of the network was to try and connect people to what was already out there. So I was online very early and I went looking for online networks and I discovered LinkedIn. And LinkedIn was launched in May 2003 and I joined in December 2003. So I'm member number 77832 and there's now over 930 million members worldwide. So it's a lot more now. But as a result of running Newcomers Network and dealing with skilled migrants, expats, repats, one of those people in 2008 asked me, was born in Australia, lived overseas for 25 years and came back. And she wanted help with LinkedIn. So that's when it started, 2008. And I've just been doing it ever since. And one of the things that happened is when you have multiple skills, when you're known as Sue Everything, you don't get any work. But when I looked at all my skills and said, what's the best way I can help the most people using my obviously solution-focused mind, as well as my technology mind, as well as my customer service mind, I realized that was LinkedIn. So when I started declaring myself as a LinkedIn specialist, that's when I started getting more work from it as well. So people could remember that, whereas they can't remember Sue everything, and you don't get work out of that. So, and then of course my first book was a brain dump of everything I knew about LinkedIn. And then I decided the next part of my career would be as an author. And I figure I've got to write 10 books. I'm halfway to that mark now. But I've also picked up poetry and lots of other things in the meantime. So, yeah, I guess that's the short version.
Wow, that's impressive.
Mm.
And let's start then with the basics. Why is LinkedIn engagement so important for professionals today?
Well, the reality is there is no such thing as job security or business security, even if you've got your own business. What keeps us going in life, we're all social creatures, and I'm a raving introvert, not an extrovert, but we're all biologically programmed to spend time with other people. Now, an introvert needs time on their own, an extrovert wants all their time with other people, but we need that sense of connection and belonging and so on. So what LinkedIn enables you to do above and beyond the other platforms is it enables you to connect with all of the people in your life, personally and professionally. And it's owned by Microsoft, not a crazy megalomaniac. And so it's a huge database, an international database, so that you can keep in touch with people long after your initial meeting. So they might change their phone number, their email address, their country, their job, their industry. All of these things can change. But if you remain connected with them, then you can still feel like you're part of something. So for instance, with my own father, he worked in an airline company that collapsed 3 days before his 60th birthday. And he also worked shift work. So he didn't have a social life, and he didn't have any hobbies or interests because of his shift work. And he didn't stay in the industry because he was nearly 60, and, you know, it was just too hard for him to consider doing something else. So overnight, his whole world disintegrated. And this is similar to what happens when you move countries. All of a sudden, everything you know is different. Your job has changed, your house has changed, your food has changed, your route to work has changed, you know, like your health system's changed, everything has changed. And if you don't have what I believe are the 3 networks you need in life, it can be really challenging. So the 3 networks I believe you need are your friends and family, and some of us would rather not have some of those people in our family network. We all know that. There's your professional network, which is your work and your industry and people within that. So not just where you work, but in the wider sphere of your professional life. And then your social network. So let's say, for instance, you love tennis. If your family and friends, the relationship's gone pear-shaped, you've just lost your job, you can still go to the tennis club. Hi, Sue, nice to see you. You know, let's have a hit. And you've still got an identity. But if you don't have those 3 networks in your life, and one or more of them collapses, you know, again, as it often does when you move, then you can feel very, very isolated. So I've also found LinkedIn to be a very safe environment, and I use the motto of being professional and friendly. So I'm not sharing what I did on the weekend, but I am keeping my business networks up to date, and people get to know where I'm at, and when they want to reach out to me, they can, and I don't have to make an effort to contact them, because if I just post every so often, that keeps the relationship alive.
Thank you, Sue. I recently participated in one of your webinars where you give 10 tips on how to engage on LinkedIn, and I applied all the tips you shared, even the sales spreadsheets you shared after the webinar. They were so helpful, and I saw that there's a lot of work to be done. So
There
one
is.
of the first tips you mentioned is about defining a purpose of using LinkedIn. Could you elaborate on how this can impact engagement?
Absolutely. So if you're clear on your purpose, then all of your activity will support that. So who you would reach out to, who you would subscribe to their newsletters, whose posts you would like. So for instance, I could have a client that's in the medical profession and they ask me to write comments on their posts. Well, to be honest, Betina, I know nothing about medical stuff to any extent. So I'm not going to talk to that. I might like it, but I wouldn't engage with that post because all of our behavior online is being tracked. So if I wanted to move into the medical profession, yes, I could certainly engage with that. But whilst I'm not interested in the medical profession, I can let that go. So if you're clear on your purpose, you can align your activity and help educate the algorithm or the computer based on your behavior, what you're interested in, and then those opportunities can come to you. So likewise with your profile, if you've got the keywords that you want to be found for in the most important sections, then you can appear in search results. Another thing I do is I've written my LinkedIn profile in such a way that the people who are not aligned will not contact me. And that saves me having to say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I sort of pre-qualify people by the type of content I have on my LinkedIn profile. So if they say, oh, that's too complicated, that's great because they're not the right person for me. They might be suited to somebody else who offers a done for you service, whereas I offer a done with you service. So yeah, if you're clear on that purpose, it helps you decide what you put on your profile, what behavior you have, who you reach out to, what you subscribe to, what you engage with, all of those things. So yeah, being clear on that is important. Now, lots of people don't know where to start with that, particularly if they find themselves in a difficult situation. So the first step is to actually write down everything you've done in the past, because so often we forget all the amazing things we've done up until this time. Even if we've only been working a couple of years, it's very easy to forget. But if you write that down, it can help you sort your thoughts, and then you can sort of think, right, it's these tasks or that culture or that location or that industry, that's what feels good for me, and they're the directions I'd like to go in. And you can change your mind at any time too, you know. If you wake up one morning and say, I want to be something different, you can.
And then the reactions on LinkedIn have also evolved beyond just likes. How can using various reaction enhance one's engagement? And also commenting, can you explain the difference and the importance of commenting on posts and engaging?
Okay, so obviously on all the social media, we're aware of the like button, the thumbs up. So that's the most common one. But there are other reactions as well on all the platforms now. One of the ones I love that LinkedIn brought in is the funny one. I thought, how cool is that we might have some fun on LinkedIn, because traditionally it's been very, very dry. But I'm a little bit reluctant to use humor because having worked in multiple audiences with different backgrounds, what's funny to one group is not funny to another. But I like the fact they put it there. They used to have one called Curates, which I found a little bit passive aggressive, but fortunately they've removed that one. But there's a lovely one where there's a heart with over the top of hands to show support. So if somebody has something that they need support with, that apparently with the algorithm will go further if you use the support or the celebrate, which is the green clapping hands, than the one just with the like button. So yes, I do encourage you to be selective about the types of reactions that you choose. Now, the comments. Some people are using external tools to write comments for them, like artificial intelligence plugins that automatically allow them to write a comment. Those comments are very boring usually, and people can tell that they were written by a computer. So they're not of any significant value. But if you have been tagged in a post, so at Betina, and you were notified that you were mentioned in a post, and then you engage with that post with a reaction and a lengthy comment, that can actually help the post go more viral and more people are more likely to see it. So I encourage you, yes, there's heaps of things you could do, and congratulations that you've done them all after going to the webinar, but I'd like to think that people could do everything they needed to do on LinkedIn in a maximum of 20 minutes a week. And the idea being that you would write lengthy comments on the content that is most related to your purpose and your network. So if I, wanted to always be involved with expatriates, then I would follow or press the grey notification bell to make sure lots of content about expatriates came into my newsfeed, and then I would engage with those, and that would demonstrate to the algorithm that I'm interested in that topic, and I'd get more of that content as well.
So leaving comments is a significant aspect of engagement. That's what you're saying. Could you provide some insights into how to craft a meaningful comment that drives conversation?
Well, the goal is to continue the conversation and to keep it happening. Now, I do not like anything confrontational, and I do not like anything that criticizes anybody, including the government. So I know some people say, oh, it's all the government's fault, which, I'm definitely against that. So I definitely would not do that. But if somebody has written a post and it's designed to open up a conversation about a particular topic, if you can add value to that without taking the limelight away from the person who originally wrote the post and make it all about you, then that can be really helpful. So a topic that has come up very recently is there's new legislation that is being presented to the Australian government about the right to disconnect. So the idea being that when we finish work for the day, we should be able to go home, not have to answer emails, texts, phone calls, chat messages, whatever, right? Now, it's not been passed yet, but when I put that post up on LinkedIn, the LinkedIn news editors decided that was an interesting topic, and then they shared it. And so now I've been notified of that. I re-engage again and I start up the conversation again, and I would add something extra to it. So what I ended up doing was I created more content and background information in a blog post. So when I wrote the second round of comments, I added a link to that post with more information about the bill that was before Parliament. So it's always about, in my mind, to add more value, to keep the conversation going. So a little while back on LinkedIn, selfies were amazingly popular. Well, I'm thinking, oh no, please don't let us go down that path. But LinkedIn has made it very clear that they want it to be a place for professional discussion. So if you can maintain that and get those conversations happening, that's definitely what is going to work. It can't just be about selling or about promoting your products and services. It's actually got to be a professional conversation.
Mm-hmm. And how do @mention and hashtags play a role in expanding your reach and enhancing engagement without appearing like spammy?
Well, you should only @mention people that are related to that content. So when this podcast goes live and you've shared it, I will @mention you so that you know that I've shared it, and you will be notified, and hopefully you will react and you'll hopefully add a comment. And that is great, because the algorithm is trying to detect if this is a genuine piece of content. So if you @mention top people on LinkedIn and it's got nothing to do with them, that's spam tagging. So that's of no significant benefit. So I've got to be pretty confident if I @mention you, you are going to respond. Likewise, if you're part of an organisation, I could @mention the organisation. Hopefully somebody else from there would also engage with the content. Now, the hashtags are like a subject. So I have turned on something on LinkedIn called creator mode, and that means I can nominate 5 hashtags of topics that I normally talk about. So one of them is #SueElson. And I put that hashtag on most of my content because I want people, if they see a post that they like, they can just click on that hashtag and see everything else I've done, see whether it sort of suits them. And if they like it, they can then follow that hashtag and then continue to see my content, or they can click the notification bell and see that content. So they can do it either way. So as a general rule, I recommend 3 hashtags per post, up to 5 if there's lots of topics covered. There is a chance that it will reach a wider audience, but what LinkedIn is trying to do, it's trying to assess, well, if I put #careers on nearly every post, it means obviously that I talk about careers a lot. And so that's another indicator to LinkedIn, because I'm a creator as such, that, yeah, that's a topic that I talk to quite frequently.
Thank you. When I attended to your webinar, I was really impressed with the resources that you shared after we finished the webinar. One of them was an Excel spreadsheet where you can keep track of all your actions on LinkedIn. Can you elaborate how often and how important it is? Because everything that we measure, it's possible to make it grow. So if you want to grow your presence on LinkedIn, this piece of expertise is essential. I hope we could share this link here on the description of our podcast, because I've been using and I think it's very, very important. Can you share your thoughts when you created and the purpose of it?
Yeah, okay. So what I've noticed with a lot of people when they start the social media journey, and I'm not just talking about LinkedIn here, I'm talking about all of the platforms, they're all very excited and they have these big ambitious plans and they're going to do this and going to do that. And of course, it all falls over 2 weeks later because they realize it's very time consuming. So I thought to myself, and then of course the reporting process is difficult because you've got to go back to your post and check how many reactions and check how many comments and manually calculate it. You know, it just becomes just so onerous, the reporting process. But if we think about what is the goal of being a content generator and engager online, and it's about consistency. So what we need to remember is the only place where our content is permanently ours is on our own website. So the number one step in my mind is to publish on your website first. And the number 2 step is to share it on social media. So I share exactly the same content on all of my social media channels. So that spreadsheet allows me to put the date, the link, the brief description of what's in it. I can even copy paste the text if I want to. And just by adding every link on that spreadsheet, I can look back and say, okay, well, after the last 6 months, there's 26 lines there. So obviously I did something once a week. And that's great. I've got that automatic statistic. Let's say it's 12 months after I've completed this list. And we have a special day here in Australia called Are You OK Day, which is a mental health day. And maybe I feel that's an important topic that I'd like to discuss. Now, if I just scroll through my previous posts, I might not be able to find that post, right? But if it was in my spreadsheet, I could click on the link and see what I did last year in September for Are You OK Day. And I could say, right, that's what I did last time. I'll just do a slightly different version of that this year, and then away I go. So because you've got that record and you can just click on the link and see it, it's really helpful. The other thing that it's really good for is a risk management strategy. So a school I was working with told me that they were organising an alumni function for all the students of, I don't know, year 2005, we'll say. And they put up a post on LinkedIn, and then they were contacted by one of the students who informed them that the teacher from that photograph had been convicted of inappropriate offences and was in jail. So they wanted that image to be immediately removed from social media. So as you can imagine, if you didn't have the link to that post and you had to try and find it in the feed, that could take a long time and is very anxiety provoking. Whereas if you've already got it in your list of links, you just click the link and you can delete it straight away, and it's a sort of a 5-second job. So there's a lot of benefits. Just all you need is the date, a brief description and the link, and then you've got a record of the number of posts and what you did last time, and it's just a really, really handy reference tool. And then if you notice in your LinkedIn analytics that one post is performing particularly well, you can say, all right, these elements from these posts seem to be working really well. And sometimes it can just be luck, Betina, because like I put some posts up and thinking, well, that wasn't anything special, but they got interest, and so it just took off. So the first time I did this post about the difference between a black and white and a colour photograph, and I put 2 images of me side by side, one of me in black and white, one in colour, and I said, what sort of photo should you have on LinkedIn? Because a lot of people use black and white to disguise their wrinkles or to look cool or, you know, whatever reason, right? But it turns out in Chinese culture that black and white photos are only used on gravestones. So if you were doing a lot of business with people from China, they would assume you were dead, which is probably not a good thing, right? So because that post had sort of the black and white and the color side by side, it became scroll stopping. So as people were scrolling through their newsfeed, they stopped to look at it. And the algorithm detected that behavior and decided to make that post go viral. So it got 32,000 views. And to this day, it's still one of my best performing posts ever. And all it was that little story about black and white versus color and 2 images in one. And it took off. Whereas other things that I've done that are far more interesting and useful just didn't go very far. So that's why it's about being consistent. And by being consistent, I mean once a week putting something up. And that's as much as you need. You don't have to be doing it. Well, you can do more, but you know, I try and encourage people once a week's enough.
When I'm teaching my coaching clients, I always tell them the importance of having recommendation and giving recommendations. And I saw that on your Excel spreadsheet, you recommend people to track how many recommendations you give and receive. Can you elaborate a little bit on recommendation versus skills? Because it's so easy to have fake skills, but recommendations is impossible to have something fake, isn't it?
So when skill endorsements came out, everybody poo-pooed the idea because they thought it was just very Facebooky and it was all disingenuous, and lots of people got endorsement votes even though they'd never met the person. And the reason people were voting for them was because it sent a notification saying, oh, hi, Betina just liked your LinkedIn skills or something or another. So it sort of provided awareness of another person. So in the beginning, it was extremely false. But now that that notification feature has been turned off, people are not reminded to do it. So there's not as many votes going on to those skills as there used to be. So the reality is that a lot of people feel uncomfortable writing about someone, but they feel comfortable about endorsing them for their skills. So I still think there's value in doing it, particularly if you have got value out of someone. So everybody, please, if Betina's got podcasting on there, like it. If you're listening to the podcast, I mean, that would be very helpful. But also, if you are voted for a skill by somebody else who has the same skill or someone who works in the same organization as you, that gives you extra bonus points. So there's still value in it. Now, the recommendations piece, anything that you put in writing, email, text message, recommendation on LinkedIn, can be used in court in a legal situation. So this is another reason why people are reluctant to write a recommendation for someone, because let's face it, if you get asked, can Betina really do a podcast? You have to be able to say, well, I've been on it, I heard it, I've seen 10 episodes. I could say, yes, she can do podcasting. But could I say that Betina was good at project management? Well, I've never seen you do project management, so I can't give you a vote for that. And likewise, I can't recommend you for that. So let's say you worked with a project manager, and this is an example I use all the time. Let's say this project manager was fantastic at being on time and on budget, but everybody was annoyed with this project manager because they were bossy and controlling and they drove everybody nuts. So to me, that's not a good project manager. I mean, yes, it's good to be on time and on budget, but if everybody hates you in the process, that's not a good project manager. So I would say, if I was writing a recommendation for that person, I would say, I first met Sam, we'll say, on a project to implement a change transformation program through the XYZ organisation. During that project, Sam was on time and on budget, and I'd like to wish Sam all the best in the future. And then I put my name on it. But I would not say they were a good project manager. I would only talk to exactly what I observed. Now, the third piece about recommendations is you can be strategic. So if you write one for a friend, that's lovely and it's terrific. But if you write one for somebody who is very well known, then that can be helpful to get your name in front of new people. So let's say you write one for George, and George is a very high level, high profile CEO that you worked with. And then lots of people look at George's LinkedIn profile. Then every time they look at George's profile, they see your recommendation there, assuming that you're connected to George and he let you publish it. So you can actually be quite strategic. And the final piece is you need to have about the same number both given and received, because obviously if you've given them and not received anybody, everybody thinks that you're crawling and trying to be nice to people. And if you've received them and not given anybody, it makes you sound a bit selfish. So yeah, so it's important to have a reasonable number. And if you can get them with the key words that you want to be known for. So if you want to be known as podcast or women or expatriates or whatever, if people can incorporate those words, that can be helpful too.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. How about reposting on sharing content from your network? Is this helpful? How this can contribute to enhancing one's professional presence?
Okay, so if there are people that are important to you for whatever reason, it could be a colleague at work, it could be a senior manager, it could be someone in the industry, it could be a key stakeholder, you can bookmark those people and have a regular look at what they're sharing and make a plan to engage with it, because you know that that's going to be helpful to you. How often you do it, again, it's a matter of time. What you share, again, needs to be related to your purpose. So back to that point I made before, if I wanted to become a medical professional, I'd be looking at medical content. If I want to stay as LinkedIn, I'll share LinkedIn or careers or business information. So it always ties into your purpose. And you need to be sensitive to other people's work. So I have always been very generous with sharing information, and I'm more than happy if people reuse it. But the old school version of the world was you keep everything close to your chest, you don't share it in case somebody else pinches it off you. So let's say there was another person who specialized in LinkedIn and they were of the old school personality, and then I shared their information. They could think that I was stealing, you know, their expertise and I was doing it inappropriately or whatever. So I try and think very carefully about, if I shared that person's content, is there any likelihood that this person could be concerned that I was doing it for the wrong reasons? And if I have any doubt, I would say, no, I'm not going to do it. But if it was fine, then all good. Yeah. Or what I might also do is I might ask them, would you feel comfortable if I shared this before I shared it?
And can you share an example of how a purpose-driven engagement on LinkedIn has directly led to a meaningful professional connection or opportunity for you or someone you work with?
Absolutely. So there was a person who came along to a 1-hour lunch and learn type workshop that I did, who had extremely specific digital skills. And once I explained how to update his LinkedIn profile with putting the keywords in the headline and his current role and throughout his profile and in his skills and all those places, within a day, he was getting 6 job offers per day from people who were interested in his skills. Now, clearly that's too much engagement, so he needed to change his profile again to make sure he closed it down so he wasn't getting that much interest. But that's one. And another one is of a person who had extensive experience in Belgium, moved to Melbourne with their partner, received a cancer diagnosis and had to take time out to recover from that, and travelled and started eating raw foods and learned a language and did all sorts of other amazing things, moved to Sydney. And because their skills were so extensive and they had Belgian experience and they'd written all that down, they were contacted by a Belgian-based company to do work in Sydney, and they were offered a job at $5,000 a day for work because they had that Belgian experience. Now, if this person had not written up all of their details on their LinkedIn profile, they wouldn't have appeared in search results. But because they had gone into a lot of detail and discussed what had happened during that cancer diagnosis, and this person did not say that they were recovering from cancer. They said they were on sabbatical and they were doing all these other things, learning the language, learning the food, traveling, etc. So that was an opportunity that they got even though they were unemployed at the time. So the algorithm favors people who have a current job. So you can write it up as if you have a current job so that you're fooling the algorithm, and then you will appear in those search results. Whereas if you had no job when you first arrived in that new location, then you would not appear in search results, or less likely to appear in search results. So the way I did it for another client just yesterday who's recently moved to Brisbane is we said that she was an HR business partner doing career research. So that was the job title that she's in now, so that when a human looks at her profile, they know that she's looking for a job. But when the algorithm is looking at the profile, it believes she's already in an HR business partner role and will put her more likely in search results.
That's good. And what are the common misconceptions or mistakes people make when it comes to LinkedIn engagement? And how would you like to address those mistakes?
The most common mistake is not to do anything. That is clearly the biggest problem, because you just lurk and the algorithm can see that you do nothing when you go online. So it's not going to reward you. Like, you've got to sort of feed the angry beast on a regular basis, and you do that by reacting and commenting. So that's the first problem. The second problem is you say terrific or fantastic or great, well done, or something just very, very short and completely meaningless. So that would be the second mistake. The third mistake is you use a tool to try and do it for you, which is against the LinkedIn user agreement, which puts you at risk of having your profile deleted without warning. So I definitely do not recommend that. And I do recommend that you take backups on a regular basis. And then the final one is you make a comment and it's really about you and not about the original person, and it doesn't continue the conversation, and it criticizes someone, and it spam tags a whole bunch of people that don't need to see it. And some people are in what's called pods, which is where everybody likes everybody else's stuff, and that's actually against the LinkedIn user agreement as well. So that's not a good process to be involved in. So the right way to do it is to be selective, think about your purpose all the time, react accordingly, write meaningful comments when you can, and try not to spend more than 20 minutes a week on doing something. Yeah.
You mentioned about doing backups. How do you recommend people to do the LinkedIn backup?
Well, there's two backups that you can do. So if you go into settings, data privacy, you can request a copy of your data. And what will happen is LinkedIn will prepare those files and send you an email with a link. As soon as you get that email with the link, you click on the link and download the files. So you should do that a minimum of every 6 months, but I'd probably suggest every 3 months. So just pop it in your calendar and have it on automatic download my data from LinkedIn. Because if you do lose your profile, you want to have some record of your connections and what you've done and the information you've put on it. The other thing that you can do from anyone's LinkedIn profile, including your own, is click the More button and choose Save to PDF. And that will put most of the content that's on your LinkedIn profile into a PDF. It's not foolproof, it doesn't include everything, but at least there's some record of what you've filled in on your LinkedIn profile. Because if your profile is deleted, you actually cannot get it back. So yeah, you definitely need to have backups. And you can actually do backups on all your social media. All of them allow you to download your data. That's a condition of the social media platforms.
Perfect. And can you share some success stories where someone significantly improved their LinkedIn engagement after implementing your strategies?
Oh, there's plenty. So the main difference is that if you can describe your achievements, and women are notoriously bad at this, and the tasks that you've completed, you appear in more search results. So then you have the opportunity to get work that is aligned with what you're interested in. So if you don't tell, you can't sell. So as an example, one of the things that I mentioned on my LinkedIn profile in very early in my career was I detected fraud. So 30 years later, I get a call from a recruiter saying, we want somebody who has fraud experience, all because I had that one word on my LinkedIn profile. Now, I went for the job interview. I wasn't planning to take it. I just wanted to see whether recruitment practices had changed, but it was all because I'd put that word on my LinkedIn profile. So it helps you appear in those search results, and that's happened for a majority of my clients. Others have been able to transition into a completely different industry. Others, instead of just doing a crappy admin job at $30 an hour, have been able to negotiate flexible working hours in their area of expertise. So maybe they're balancing caring responsibilities for a child or an adult. Maybe they're restricted to specific hours of the day, but because they've been able to describe their value, they've appeared in search results and got opportunity. One of the sections that a lot of people forget to fill in if they're a mobile person is their services that they can bring. So you can have a services page, and then that can be, if I just want to hire you to do a task, then you can appear in services results rather than in jobs results, because obviously a job is not what the person's looking to pay you for. They're just looking for you to do a service. I've sadly heard some people use it as a dating app. There was one person I met at a conference, and he decided that he liked people who worked in HR. So he would connect with all these lovely women who worked in HR and ask them out on dates. Now, that's not allowed, but he said it was very successful and far better than the dating apps. So I don't recommend that as a strategy, but I can say that it has happened. Mind you, LinkedIn is dead against it, and it wouldn't work now, but it did work for him all those years ago. For me personally, if you Googled LinkedIn specialist anywhere in Australia, I appear in search results. So that's very helpful to my business. I've also got a number of articles that I've written that appear in search results. Now, obviously, if I've only worked with someone for 1 or 2 hours, they don't come back and necessarily tell me their success. You know, they just carry on and, you know, live their lives. But I can absolutely guarantee I would be lost without LinkedIn, particularly last year when my website was hacked and all my images disappeared off my website. If it wasn't for my LinkedIn profile that was there, I wouldn't have felt comfortable shutting down my website, because I didn't know whether it would affect someone if they visited my website because it had been hacked. So I felt comfortable shutting down my entire website of over 400 pages of content because I knew my LinkedIn profile would still be there for me. So it's been an amazing network tool. So it's offered value well beyond, like people remember me simply because we've connected. And so I might meet someone 8, 10, 15 years ago, but because we're still on LinkedIn, they'll contact me again 15 years later. So, yeah, it's been amazing. Another tool that is very popular that I've heard people get lots of results out of is they go back to the alumni of the same school or university they went to. So if they're moving to a new location, they'll say, let's see if I can find any other graduates from the same university, college or school, and see if I can reach out to them and use them as a network builder. So, yeah, heaps of stories I could share on the value of it. And as I said before, it's absolutely my favourite. Also, I believe you can start your own business just with a LinkedIn profile. You don't even need your own website. You can get started with your own side hustle from today. Yeah.
Great. And as we wrap up, could you give our listeners a final piece of advice how to fostering a meaningful engagement for females on LinkedIn and nurture their professional network?
So for females who are new in the profession, is that right?
For females in general.
All right. For women in general. First of all, please remember that you do not need to be 100% capable to give something a go. And this is something that women traditionally think that they have to be better than men, perform better than men before they even consider putting themselves forward. You only need 60% competency. Even if you had all the skills and you went to a new organization tomorrow, it would still take, in my mind, 6 months to be unconsciously competent. So nobody is ever going to be 100% on day one. So if you've got 60%, give it a crack. Quite often, a lot of people will not put their name forward because they don't have the 100%, and then the employer doesn't get the candidates they're looking for. So give it a go. You do need to talk about your achievements. It is not boasting and bragging. So an achievement you write in past tense, and all the tasks that you do in the job, even if it's an old job, you write in present tense. So that way it sounds like you have all these amazing skills. But the achievements can include things you did particularly well, things that you instigated, achieved, were selected for, anything that you did that was over and above what you initially hired or started doing on day one. And please talk to those achievements, because what they do is they tell in a short form, if Mary did this in a previous role, Mary could do this again in a new role. So it gives past behavior as a predictor of future performance. So writing up those achievements. The other thing I'd say is, please, from now on, connect with every single person you meet online, on LinkedIn, personally or professionally. So on your mobile phone, if you press in the search box and then the little dots on the right-hand side, you'll get your little scan code feature, and you can scan each other's codes when you're meeting in face-to-face, or you can put that code on your presentations or your real estate signboard, or whatever it is. You can put that code, people can scan it and then connect with you. So make it a policy from now on, connect with everyone you meet, because our network is our net worth. And they're the people who will support us if we can't get a job. We can say, can you please suggest someone I could talk to? Can you please refer me? And then when you get referred, people can still verify your details on LinkedIn, and you're much more likely to get the job. So it's not what you know or who you know, it's who refers you and how you can be verified. And both of those things can be done on LinkedIn. And you can be very strategic about researching and finding people to ask for those referrals as well. So loads of tools there. But remember that if you don't fill it in, nobody knows that. Like if I meet you in person, I understand a lot more about you. But a lot of the time, LinkedIn is just two-dimensional on a screen. How do I make an evaluation? You've got to tell me what you've done and what that's all about so that I can believe it for myself. Because what I find online, I believe, even if my best friend told me Betina's fabulous, I'm still going to Google Betina and say, well, does that match? The other thing that we need to be aware of is appearing in chat results. So if you are in your own little business, then you really do need your own website, because the content on social media is not necessarily included in the data sets of artificial intelligence. So please put everything on your website, then share on social media as well.
Perfect. And if people want to learn more about your work or participate in the webinar that I did, can you share how often do you give those webinars and how they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, my website, sueellson.com, SUEELLSON.com. If you look under the presentations tab, you'll see all the previous webinars, including the one that Betina went to on LinkedIn engagement. My next one is on LinkedIn posts, and then I'm doing LinkedIn articles, events, newsletters. They're all coming up for the end of the year. I've been running them every month since October 2021. They started off as an hour each for different industries. Now I focus more specifically on the platform itself, and they go for just over half an hour. And they're all on YouTube that you can watch them there. But I'm all over the internet. So if you just Google Sue Ellson, you'll find me, and feel free to reach out. That's perfectly fine. And there's heaps of free information on the website. You don't have to log in. You don't have to sign up. It's all there and free. Yeah.
Perfect. I will put the link of all her social media on the description of our podcast. Thank you so much, Sue. And that brings us to the end of this insightful episode of Wisdom Woman. A heartfelt thank you for sharing your expertise, your experience, and wisdom, and how to excel in the professional world using LinkedIn. Sue's journey from her extensive work as a LinkedIn specialist and her commitment to fostering community through the Newcomers Network is a testament to the power of dedication, continuous learning, and embracing opportunities. As we wrap up here, remember that LinkedIn isn't just a digital platform. It's a gateway, connect, learn, and make your mark in the professional landscape. Take Sue's valuable advice to heart and apply her strategies to unlock your own potential and forge meaningful connections. We love to hear your thoughts on this episode and how you plan to integrate these insights into your own professional journey. Reach out to us on social media and drop us a line. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Betina. It was lovely. Great questions as well.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Wisdom Woman Podcast. To hear past and future episodes, please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast channel. We appreciate your reviews. To give us suggestions for future show topics, please write to us at podcast@witty.tech. If you're interested in having me as your trusted advisor, schedule a strategic coaching session on my website, www.witty.tech.